almost every time when I pick up a new press vehicle, I become aware of how many are actually on the road in my area. Now, when I picked up this 2020 Buick Encore GX, it became very clear that this is a fairly popular vehicle. I mean, it kind of blends into the SUV background if you're not looking for it, but when you do look for it, it becomes, like I said, very obvious that it is a popular choice. Now, this is an Encore GX, not a regular Encore, but I am, bunching both together as far as the ones that I see on the road. Now, I might as well address now the difference. The Encore is the base model, or the entry-level Buick SUV. The Encore GX, this slots above the Encore and below the Envision. Yes, I know there isn't that much of a difference physically between the Encore and Encore GX, but that's the way Buick sees it, and I suppose that's the way we got to see it too. Okay, well, on the point of seeing many of them, there is one thing that they pretty much all have in common, and, well, to put it simply, they make me, the people who drive where I see behind the wheel of these things make me look young, and I'm 44 years old. In fact, very young. But enough of that. Let's just touch on styling right now. Buick has done a fantastic job with this thing. In fact, it looks like a grown-up that hasn't physically grown up. Right? The front end is very serious, but kind of cool, young, and modern at the same time. And same with the profile. I mean, the roof line doesn't slope back too much, but just enough. It's got its hair slicked back, but not aggressively so, I suppose. And the same thing applies to the rear end, where it's grown up, but it's small. Anyhow, all that to say is that the Encore GX is actually quite attractive. All right, so base price for the preferred front-wheel drive in Canada is $26,098. In the US, $24,100. That's with front-wheel drive. There's a select mid-trim, if you will. I hate these trim names. Maybe that makes me old. I like LX and EX and ES and whatever. Well, to make matters worse, this is the top trim, which is Essence. In Canada, it includes all-wheel drive as standard. In fact, Select has all-wheel drive standard too, and the base preferred is the only one that's available with front-wheel drive. So this Essence all-wheel drive in Canada is $32,598 in the US, while all-wheel drive is standard for all-wheel drive is optional in all trims. So the Essence starts at $29,495. Sorry about that. By the way, with the front-wheel drive models, you get a 1.2-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine and a CVT, but also included you get an 8-inch screen, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, 18-inch wheels, and a bunch of other stuff. Now the Essence, includes leather, LED lights, a heated steering wheel, and a bunch of other stuff. But my tester right here, white in fact, yes, has a number of options on it, as you might imagine, including the paint, white frost. It's got the Experience package, it's got the Advanced Tech package. In other words, a sunroof, adaptive cruise control, navigation. Grand total, right around $37,600, which is impressively good value, honestly, for what you get. Styling and the experience, the drive experience and all that. Anyway, I'll touch on that in a few moments. So let's do the usual tour. All right, so, yes, power hatch for this one. So that reveals, according to Buick, 665 liters of trunk space, 23.5 cubic feet. I don't quite see it. I mean, it's not very deep. Yes, the load floor, you can actually slide it down and drop it, but there's a box down there. You can see like the second little slot there. Again, doesn't seem like 665 liters, but one thing that I can tell you is that this is about 145 liters more than what you get in the Encore, so about 2.5 cubic feet. And about 85 liters less than the Envision, or give it maybe a half a cubic foot. Interior. So ingress and egress is actually really easy. I kind of mentioned the roof line. The opening is fairly large. And what's also impressive is the amount of room. So just give you a shot of the dashboard right there. The leg room is impressive. I mean, this is a tiny little SUV. And what's really cool too is you can literally lose your feet almost under the seats. Elbow room is good. Headroom is just about okay. You can't really squeeze 3 across, but you could if you wanted to. So actually, this is like it's a good solid 4-seater for 4 good-sized adults. Just maybe give you another idea of this kind of caramel brown and black interior, which is very well put together. Let's start it up. So there's your included IP right there in the middle, digital. It's got all kinds of menus, as you can expect. Music, navigation, phone, all that. Analog gauges, very clear, easy to read. Here is your 8-inch screen, Buick Infotainment System. So it's a typical stuff you get in your Chevys and your GMCs, which, as we know, is very easy to use, very intuitive. Speaking of intuitive and easy to use, large dials, clear indications for the fan speed, for the position. Very, very much liking that, including your heated seats. There's your heated steering wheel button in case you were looking for it. Storage, quite good. And here's one thing, I'll go over this way. As with all the GM SUVs that are not the full-size ones, all-wheel drive has to be activated, and it's on. I'll touch on that in a few moments. Storage is a bin down here, which is a good size. Perfect spot for your mask. There is the armrest too, which has, I don't know if you can see that. Anyhow, storage is good. As I mentioned, look, the finish is actually quite nice as well. And while I'm doing this round, you can see the visibility might be a little bit of an issue because the A-pillar, the base, is enormous. And as I work my way around, oh yeah, heads up display. It's a little screen that flips up. Useless, terrible, distracting, no. So we get over to here. So we can see there the base of the A-pillar and the mirror mount right here is quite large. There is, about a finger's width right there of view, if you will. And that could possibly be an issue. But otherwise, the interior is quite nice. For $37,000 and change, as equipped, there's actually a fair amount of value. Yeah, I know. Anyhow, enough chit chat about that. Let's go and find out what a 3-cylinder turbo feels like in this Buick. That's right, because that's, I guess, one of the other differences between the Encore GX and the Encore is that both versions of the Encore GX are powered by turbocharged 3-cylinder engines, whereas the Encore has a 4-cylinder engine. So output for this 3-cylinder 1.3 liter engine is a whopping 155 horsepower and 174 pound-feet of torque from only 1,600 RPM. What's interesting is that this thing is relatively lightweight. It only weighs about 3,300 pounds. So when you get on the throttle and that torque kicks in, it's sprightly, I suppose. Sprightly. It's not fast. It's not quick. But it's a wonderful balance between power to weight, if you will. One thing though, if you do happen to get on the throttle a lot and for an extended period of time, you will discover the sound of a 3-cylinder engine. Now, to be fair, I've driven a number of 3-cylinder engines going as far back as the first generation Smart 4.2 in the early 2000s, and they have a very distinct noise. But in this Buick Encore GX, I've never experienced one to be so quiet. I mean, the rumble is obvious, it's inevitable. So as far as 3-cylinder engines go, this is okay. It's fine. You get a 9-speed automatic transmission with it, which, I mean, look, so far this week, it's been doing exactly what it needs to do. It seamlessly upshifts, downshifts. It'll meet absolutely every expectation you could ever possibly want. Rated fuel economy, see, now that would be one reason why you have such a small SUV with such a small engine, is for efficiency. Now, this thing is rated at 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers combined, which works out to 28 miles per gallon, which is very, very nice. However, and this is a question I've asked GM for over 2 years, in their SUVs, which have manually activated all-wheel drive system. And the question is the fuel economy rating with all-wheel drive essentially off or on? And well, the reason or the answer has always been, well, all-wheel drive can be turned on or off for efficiency reasons, which in my mind tells me that, in fact, this thing will consume more fuel than that if you live above the snow belt and you actively, physically put it in all-wheel drive and forget about it for months at a time, which is what you probably should do anyway, especially during winter. So I'm thinking those fuel economy numbers are a little bit optimistic. Now, what I'm optimistic about is the drive quality of this thing, and the impression that you're driving something much larger than it actually is. No, it doesn't feel like an Enclave, size and weight and chassis wise. But from where I'm sitting, the pillar is still fairly far, and I drive very close to the steering wheel. Other than the big blind spot here, visibility is still fairly good. And the chassis, the dampers have plenty of compliance built into them. The structure feels very nice and solid, so the ride is smooth, decently quiet overall. And I really can't complain about steering. It's responsive. The weight is actually almost, dare I say, it's sporty the way it responds. There's no dead spots on center. Brake pedal is very GM, where it's fairly firm and reacts quickly to inputs. Yeah, there's that torque. This is actually fun. The old fun to drive type of thing for an SUV, aimed at people older than I, if you will, despite whatever Buick and GM may say. It's entertaining. And if you never really have to carry a whole bunch of stuff, the trunk will be perfectly fine. And if you're going out to bingo night and you're picking up, Sue and Randy or what, I don't know, there's plenty of room for 4 on board. This is a nice little SUV, and for the price, it's surprisingly value-packed.